No, well, that didn't go well. Did it?
It's so funny to be on the inside of other people's processes. It's relieving, honestly. I'm enjoying all of this. It makes me feel much more normal.
It's
I
good
think
company. This is what people do.
This is the normal. That's what it's confirming.
Welcome to the Honest Jams podcast, where two friends exalt each other to write a new song.
Nice one.
Every week based on a prompt. I'm Ayal.
I'm Walker.
And our theme today is an ode. And not only do we have a theme today, but we have musician, singer, just overall lovely person, Isabeau Waia'u Walker, with us today.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. I didn't tell you, but you're actually our first guest.
I'm so honored. I'm so honored. And it makes me feel a lot more at ease.
Yeah.
Because we're all starting.
Yeah. We're still very new to this process. So we love to start by just hearing like how songwriting came into your life.
I believe my parents always had music going on in the house, and we created a lot of music together and sang together. My dad plays the guitar and my mom does too. When they first met, they would sing together and they would write songs together. So it didn't seem like an odd thing when you thought something or you felt something or you had an opinion about the world to respond in song, because they would do it probably to a degree where I thought everyone had that experience. So the first time like I wrote a song,
because it was so embedded in you, like culturally.
Yeah, culturally, and specifically even outside of or narrower than my culture, in my immediate family. Mm-hmm. And then if you go a little bit further out into like the rest of my family line, especially in Hawaii, songwriting, whether it be on a very intimate level where you just write them and you share them with yourself or your family, or if you're publishing it, it seemed really normal. Not normal like anyone could do it, but that you'll get to it eventually, and then you'll feel compelled to do it, and then you'll document it and you'll share it, and it'll be at the very least nourishing for yourself, maybe for others. And I'd say the first time I wrote my own song that I shared with people, like a complete song, it was maybe like right when I hit middle school, and I shared it with a few of my basketball teammates. And they weren't mean about it, but I remember them not being as stoked as I was. Like, they're like, that's cool, and then let's move on to the next thing. And
because they didn't have that background.
Yeah, it wasn't where I thought it was gonna be like, oh, you're doing it. It was not the response, and it was I guess it was a good filter at that stage to be like, why are you doing this? Because my peers at that point that weren't within my family setting, and probably because it wasn't very good, weren't as stoked on it as I was. Like, I was like, this is
right.
It's coming out of me in this way now, and I was expecting much more of a celebration than I received at that point.
So you had to learn to celebrate yourself.
Oh yeah, and I'm pretty sure I put it down for a while. Not like just stopped, but I wasn't as motivated because it didn't receive the kind of welcome, at least in my friend group. But my parents always, like, I would just write something, whether it was a whole song or not, and then go into the living room or the kitchen, and while they were doing their thing, they'd be like, yeah, you can play it. So I don't know how many times they actually listened to the song, or if they were just being loving and be like, yeah, go for it. Yeah. Show us your thing, your creation.
That's amazing though. That's one of the, like, throughout my life, anytime I, like, even when I was growing up living with, like, playing music in my house, it always felt the piano was always in the public space, so I had to play that in public.
Yeah.
Everything else always was very much like sucked into other spaces. And then when I started growing up and moving places on my own, it was always this process of having to like desensitize myself to like playing music around other people.
Yes.
So it's amazing that you had that from like a young age where that was like acceptable in your home to, and you had that too, where your like whole family was just
Musical household.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would sing before dinner. So we had a dinner song.
Awesome. Oh, we didn't have that, but that's awesome.
what was your dinner song?
I'm just gonna sweep that under the rug. No, I had as a kid, it was just like, oh, we have to sing the dinner song again, you know. But
Dinner song, that's a good prompt.
Yeah.
dinner, so sing for your supper. Yeah, it was only later, all grown up, when I realized, you know, not everybody had that musical background, and the hippie parents who kept a drum set on the decommissioned school bus in the yard on the farm, you know.
Oh my goodness. That's
It's a hippie experience.
Yeah. So how did you pick up songwriting again after that crushing?
It's so funny. The way I remember it, I'm sure if I were to sit down with any of those girls, I don't think they'd have any memory of it, but I know where we were at.
Right.
I know the guitar it was on.
Oh, you played it live in front of them,
Yeah.
not a recording. No. Oh, yeah. So you just like
I
had to
went for
gut
it.
through it.
Which is huge because even though music within my family, within my extended family and culture was very much you live, you breathe, you sing, like there wasn't a huge separation between even the aunties and uncles who had done something on a professional level compared to what we were doing at home. It's like music is, and the songs you write, it's just all one thing. There was no differentiation between it. So even though that was like that at home, playing for my friends or playing at school or playing in public spaces that weren't at like a home designated music space were terrifying to me. Like I wanted to do it. Don't get me wrong. People are like, I guess you didn't want to play. I'm like, no, I wanted to share it. But the fear of, I guess it just, as soon as I started understanding other people didn't do that, then I thought maybe this isn't great. Maybe this isn't landing the way I thought. I'm not excellent in my songwriting or guitar or vocals maybe yet enough that anyone will think it's worthwhile. So school, talent shows or things like that, or if it was groups of friends, I would ask them to close their eyes. Like it was my way of pretending that I was still hidden.
I still wish people would do that, especially like in intimate settings. I'm like,
could everyone just close their eyes and not go to sleep?
you're like sitting right next to me.
And I'm staring a hole through my cheek. It's like, could you just... Yeah, so I would ask for that outright. Now I have tools to go to those spaces in my mind where I don't have to ask people to physically close their eyes. But I did that for a long time. I won't even say how long that I...
But what kept you though, like...
Writing.
You had to find that intrinsic motivation again to...
I think I just really had things I wanted to say.
What were those things?
Well, the songwriting for me felt very much like it was the safest place for me to articulate what I was feeling, what I thought about anything, to be honest. And for a long time felt kind of embarrassed that my songs felt kind of Dear Diary because I didn't want to be grouped into like sappy Dear Diary songs where, I don't know. I think I'd heard enough people talk those down that I'm like, yeah, mine are more substantial than just Dear Diary. But to be honest, it started because I was very shy. If I didn't feel like my family had the position socioeconomically or within the community to stand for something loudly in public, or if I was afraid, I was like, people seem to listen to songs a lot faster than they'll listen to me. So if I can craft a song around what's stirring in me, whether it be love or hate or confusion, then if I can dress it up, it will just like slide right into their ears.
So did you feel like did you feel marginalized?
As a family, yes.
Why was that?
Primarily being poor, growing up in Hawaii, a mixed family, which that's not uncommon anywhere, especially in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. But where that landed us because of our socioeconomic circumstance, where that landed us in certain communities, like our living situation, survival mode most of the time. But both my parents were working, and then my mom got sick. My dad's in the ministry, and there was a lot of the narrative of there must be no favor from God if your family is doing
you deserve the thing that the situation.
So
that
every
you're in.
time something
that was your
horrible
dad
happened, then as a child, I mean, most people had some sense not to go tell us kids directly, but we also got some of it. Anytime any financial, relational, huge things that happened with some of my siblings when we were younger, a lot of the narrative that we heard spitting around us, whether it be like at bus stops or Maui's a small island, was that it was like a byproduct of like our own failures. And that was kind of, and whether anyone said that, the more you read and the more you listen, you're like,
Right.
oh, what I hear you saying is.
Or even just body language, how you're treated, like you're saying, right?
Exactly.
It programs you.
So I understood that no one was just going to believe me or us most of the time. And I hated it. And all of us responded in different ways to these seasons or these difficulties. And my way, which wasn't, it had the appearance of a healthy way of dealing with struggle, but it was still a coping mechanism, was, oh, I'm just going to do everything.
Type A.
I'm going to prove to them. And once I've won them over, then I'll let them know what I think. But it just wasn't.
Do you still have that?
Traces of it. But it was also very much, I don't know how much of that is actually my personality. Because the older I've gotten, the more things that have been addressed and trauma and watching some of my siblings or my parents like reconcile some things, it's become clear that the personality that survived during that time, I don't think all of it was me. Like even that method of I'm just going to prove all and then one day I'll win them over. I don't even buy into that. But it was, for me, it was a way of wrapping my mind around like a strategy for winning them towards my family and having them believe what I already knew about us. And songs were part of that. So it was all the performance and then everything that I wanted to say about my family, life, culture, faith, gender, all of it made its way into songs. And then I'd just sing them for whoever would listen and whoever would close their eyes.
So that you were talking about pride earlier when we were talking about skateboarding, but you also have a little pride, like in this idea of a family and what that means.
Yeah. How would you split the difference or how would you define those two? Is that the same pride to have, like?
It's related to identity, right? Both of them on some level. It's almost not pride. It's like,
what is it? I don't know.
Like
I'm at loss.
Some kind of celebration of it. You're like, no, this has value. Whereas like not wearing a helmet is more just like this ego thing of wanting to look cool.
Yes.
Right?
I'm admitting that to everyone. I desperately want to look cool.
I wish we all could have just said that in middle school. Wouldn't that have solved so much?
I know.
If I could go back in time, I'd call an assembly and say, you guys, we're all just trying to be cool.
Seriously, even this principal over here who's doing these weird, like adding things into her speech. You're like, oh no, she's trying to relate to the youth. And it's making it worse.
They're like, you can't use these words.
Yeah. Like using words 2 years too late and be like, you know what I mean, guys? And you're like, oh no, she doesn't know. She doesn't know. Anyways.
So speaking of middle school, so you're motivated to write songs.
Yes.
So what do you do?
It was similar to like writing in a journal for me. I mean, I'm not sure if that's answering the question, but for me, songwriting or creating a song was very much lyrics first. And I don't know if that was because I didn't feel at the start as confident with my guitar playing as I did with my storytelling. But it's persisted most of the time. When I write a song, it's going to start with words. Like I might hear arrangements of music and stuff like that and love it, but the origin is usually around an idea or
were you recording yourself
on a little do you remember Talk Boys?
No.
From Home Alone. You could like, it basically was just a cassette recorder, but you could slow it down or speed it up, so he made it sound like there were like people in the house.
I want one of those now.
I saw one at a thrift store. I was like, oh my gosh, Talk Boy. Like I couldn't afford it when I was younger, but I had like a knockoff version of that, which it's just a cassette recorder.
Yeah.
With no like Talk Boy label. And I would just record it. Well, initially it was just, I would write it, and then my mom started noticing, and I was telling her I was like forgetting stuff. So I got one of those recorders, but it had the really small cassettes. And then early high school, one of my best friends from high school, she was a few years older than me, and she said that my freshman year, she was a junior, I gave her one of them. And she's like, I don't know, I still to this day don't know how to play it.
Yeah.
Like, it's perfect. Because I think it was more symbolic, where I'm like, I'm showing you that I had these songs. But no one's going to be able to listen to them. But yeah, the little cassette. And then, probably like my grandparents bought my mom and dad a really big VHS camcorder. And I would position it in the corner of the room and run back, like press recording, and then sing to it. Which is so funny because it's obnoxious. I'm so glad I didn't have my YouTube channel then. Actually, that's actually kind of sad because I would kind of want to see that documented just for my own pleasure. But I'd sing a lot of Celine Dion, and then I would like hum out or like strum out portions of songs. It's rough even just saying it out loud. Like the recording of me running away from the camera to me is the funniest part.
You just do like a montage.
You're hustling to get in front of it, and then you change. You go from like this manic, like, is it recording to, hi, I'm Isabeau, and I'm gonna sing a song that I wrote about. And you're like, oh, it gives you so much compassion for the middle schoolers when you see them trying. You're like, I know that so personally. But
Wait, don't look yet. Okay, now look.
Don't look in now. As if it's like way different, but it's all the same.
Yeah, this is who I am.
This is my performance mode.
So when at some point you started putting stuff out to the world on the internet, how did that happen?
MySpace.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Do you remember MySpace?
Oh yeah, I had a MySpace.
We were all coders because you just copy and like paste it into it, and all of a sudden you had like the right background. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so smart. Yeah, MySpace is probably the first spot that it was out to the world.
Why did you decide to start doing that?
A roommate made one for me. So I didn't actually have a choice in that one, but it felt like I guess I needed someone to do it.
Did they choose your top 8 friends?
Probably at the start, and then I rearranged it. Just to be like, that's not correct. These are not the people. I'm grateful for, I needed more than I would like to admit people to encourage me to put it out initially.
Yeah, we all need positive reinforcement like that. Oh, yeah.
Because up until then, it was whoever was in my direct space, my space, that's funny, my actual physical space, and I'd play like coffee shop gigs or anything I could to flesh the songs out and record them on a computer with really poorly. Like it was just like a voice memo essentially. But
your songs, because you do a lot of covers too.
My original songs. So the YouTube came along probably like 5 or 6 years after I started doing the MySpace and then putting things up on Facebook. But I think video felt, as much as it was intimidating because your face is up there with your songs, it, for some reason for me, was less intimidating than trying to figure out how to record my stuff. Which now, like, you can take your phone out and sing a song in a voice memo, and it's pretty decent demo. Yeah. But I didn't have that. So, like, seeing the mixers and everything, I'm like, oh my gosh, I won't know how to figure this out in time for me to get this song out. And I really want to get this song out. So it's easier just to turn on a little camera, play it, put it on Facebook, put it on MySpace, put it on YouTube. But
well, it's harder to play a continuous take on video than to record where you can just punch in any little thing, you know? So you kind of jumped ahead to the more difficult.
Unknowingly. I was just very intimidated by the production side of it. But you asked a specific question and I wondered. Yeah, you recording originals, right? You mentioned covers. Right. Covers were, honestly, it was part fun. It was part learning how other people wrote their songs. Mm-hmm. And then it was also strategy once I started putting out my original stuff more regularly, whether it be in video format or SoundCloud, was not many people are going to cross these channels looking for me. And I'm like, and I know it's specifically,
like typing your name in. Yeah.
Isabeau. I'm like, oh, it's probably not going to happen. But if I can weave together a body of work where they stumble upon the song by this individual that they were looking for, if I can make enough of it, maybe I will just catch them in my web.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the motivation for this podcast, I think, is that we both noticed that, like, we just like creating things and putting things out into the world. And I think that's something that most artists that I know, whatever kind of art they make, just get stuck in this idea of, like, everything has to be this perfect thing that has to have this gigantic opening experience or something like that. And I just want, like, like you're saying, like a body of work out in the world. And if somebody likes one thing that I do, then I have all these other things that they can experience also.
Exactly. And my heart towards creating, even though I know, like, let's say for YouTube, I aim to do one to two videos a week. And I've been doing that for a long time. And I've had people ask before, like, in a variety of ways, like, aren't you afraid that, one, to put it out on a platform like that, just with all the trolls? I'm like, oh yeah, of course. Are you kidding me? Like, that's why I didn't for so long. And what if you can't get the best take in a week? I'm like, well, of course I won't. I start there. I start knowing that in this mode, in this way, I just want to keep creating. And there will be other projects, there will be other things that will require more time. I'll give it more of like a lead up or a promo or a big opening. But the way I want to use, let's say YouTube or any of the other platforms you use, I'm like, this is so that I will, within parameters, allow myself to be creative. And then at the end of that week, I'm like, that's the best I could do that week.
Yeah.
And someone's like, well, it could have been better. I'm like, duh.
Well, the fucked up thing is
Yeah.
that's not even like guaranteed. Like you can work on something over and over again for
10
years and it doesn't get better necessarily.
know.
You go back to an earlier version of it, you're like, I kind of like the
That
first
was
one.
That's like the unexplainable, that there's something beyond the technical craft. It's not guaranteed that 10 years in that was going to get better.
Right.
And I know some things require more treatment, and I want to give them that, and I have the ability to trash things and then come back to things which requires time. And I think that there's a whole other world inside of it where I just want to keep making.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that I'll get any better or bolder if I hold it off and never share it. Because then I'll just get stuck on that and I won't get to do like the 10 other things or 10 other songs or projects or collaborations that I've been hoping for.
Yeah.
Because I'm set on this being perfect, and I don't even know what perfect is for that song at that point. I'm like,
Right.
frustrated.
How do you, I feel like, yeah, how do you know, really?
I don't. Even with this project that you two gave me, it was very freeing to know last night when I bounced it out of Logic to just be like, is what it is what it is.
Yeah.
And not in like a lazy way, or like you could still pursue whatever excellence needs in that field, but it kind of opened doors that when I was playing and adding things in, I'm like, usually I'll overthink it, like, I don't know if I'll add that, or man, maybe that's dumb, that's cheesy. I'm like, well, it is, but you have like 1 more hour. So commit to it or erase it. And
Yeah.
like,
That hour was 1 to 2 a.m. for me last night.
That's awesome. I like the posture of just making and keep sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get into the imperfection then.
Ooh.
But before we do,
What does the internet say on the topic of the day? And if it's wrong, you can let us know by using the internet too.
I love
she's
so
amazing.
new to me too. It's making me smile.
So, the internet.
So, odes. Odes have been around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Ancient Greece. So what I found, basically, an ode is a lyric poem in the form of an address to a particular subject, often elevated in style or manner, and written in varied or irregular meter. And that's where it opened up for us, because it doesn't mean that you have to do a certain rhyme scheme or
Right.
couplets or anything like that.
Specific form. Or if
Right.
you don't do any research, you don't even know.
You don't even know. But that bit me in the ass when we did lullabies, and I looked it up the night before. I had to rewrite my lullaby. So this week I was trying to be on it. I looked up odes early. So that's just a dry description. Odes also convey exalted and inspired emotions, expressed in a language that is imaginative, dignified, and sincere, which is a great combo.
Yeah.
I love that. This is not
The sincerity.
sarcastic worshiping of something. This is honest appreciation.
I think that was maybe the hardest part of writing an ode for me, was like, what's
Sincerity.
worth being so sincere about? Which made me kind of want to write a joke song too. But
So on the more technical side, there are 3 types of odes, including the Pindar ode for Pindar, Horatian ode for Horace, and the irregular ode for irreg.
good joke.
Thank you. The irregular ode is without any formal rhyme scheme and gives writers the flexibility to try any type of concept or mood. And notables with irregular odes, William Wordsworth and John Keats.
Oh, yeah.
For a literary look at an ode closer to this century, we're going to hear from OSU Assistant Professor of Writing and Livewire radio announcer Elena Passarello, who I talked with backstage at a taping.
Out in the real world.
Also present were the fine staff at the Alberta Rose Theatre, who you might hear vacuuming in the background ever so slightly.
Out in the real world, out in the real world, out in the real world, out in the real world.
When I think of an ode, I spend most of my time thinking about odes in sort of more contemporary capacities, but that's what I think about. an opportunity to use this energy, this passionate expression that used to be kind of reserved for very important people or gods, that now you can sort of apply to anything. And maybe my favorite example of this would be Cisco's The Thong Song, right? Which is from my youth, right? And he's like, I mean, I guess it's sort of about women and butts, but really I think he's just very passionate about the thong, and it allows him to sort of think kind of in this very large shape about the world. He scrutinizes all of these different sort of aesthetic experiences that surround the thong, and then there's this music that sort of accompanies it. And then there's great pieces of figurative language, like dumps like a truck, right? Dumps like a truck doesn't really help you understand very much about the thong or the person who wears the thong, but it's a connection to the overall aesthetic experience of what a thong is, and that's what the ode is allowing him to sort of do. It's allowing him to make these extrapolations about the experience.
And that nice format for the celebration of something.
Yeah, it's a form. I think that's exactly right. I think it's a form for celebration, and to use the energy of celebration to take your form seriously.
Well, I found a couple of weirder things on the internet. One, another famous ode to joy. Apparently, this is like the theme song. Is that the right word? Of the European Union.
Really?
I don't think theme
I'm worried
songs
that I did not do my own research.
No, you weren't supposed to. Anthem of the European Union. And apparently, like, since Brexit happened, there was this happened like 10 days ago or something. There's this big movement to get Ode to Joy to be the #1 song in the UK in order to, like, say fuck you to the people that, whatever they're called, separatists or whatever. Anyway, I just thought the absurdity of people caring about that kind of thing. I just, it'd be nice if governments just actually, like, cared about just doing good for humans.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
And the other thing that I found, completely unrelated, I didn't understand half of this, but apparently there's some kind of mathematical term called an ode, which is an ordinary differential equation. And when I was looking into it, it kind of made me think that there are people that are maybe inventing time machines.
What?
Because the comments that these people are talking about. So here's a couple
you
of
may
comments.
have inadvertently stumbled on the key to unlocking.
Or maybe they're scientists from the future. Here's one comment that somebody put.
That.
Yeah.
I like that.
Here's one comment. I would be more interested in something going over the nasty bits. This is referring to an article on odes.
Okay.
So this person is interested in something and going over the nasty bits, such as the fact that numerically integrating an ode backwards in time is an ill-posed problem when the forward integration is well-posed. And they wonder, are there blogs about this? I don't know.
Wow.
And then this other person said, there are time-stepping methods that preserve time reversal symmetry. So, there's a lot of people that are significantly smarter than us out in the world, I think is the lesson to that.
And we're like, we're writing songs about odes.
Yeah.
My ode is actually speculative about a future scenario, so tie in there.
Well, let's get into that.
That's what the internet said.
All right, Isabeau.
Now I don't know if I want to go first. Well, I'm just thinking about the research. I looked up that definition halfway through writing it, and I was like, so what I'm gathering is I can just keep writing the way I want.
Right. Because they were like, this is a non-specific thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think the only part is I'm not sure if it's purely, what is it, the part of the definition talked about exalting? Mine's kind of on a fine line on that one, but we'll see.
Okay.
Well, you're paying it attention and appreciation by
Right.
making it your subject, so
Yes.
I think
I
think it works.
Thank you.
Yeah, you
For flexing
obviously
that my
put
way.
energy into it.
I hope some of our future guests don't look up the definition of whatever it is, and we could just get to hear their version of what they think
Right.
it might be. So we welcome all avenues.
Maybe they'll
lead to.
redefine the genre.
Could be.
There, Pablo Neruda has a whole book of all the odes. That was my only reference, is reading through his odes, which in my, they were free flowing enough that I think that gave me the boldness to be like, I'm just going to do it this way.
Yeah.
And then I got halfway into it, I'm like, I should have looked it up. I should have made sure that I actually knew.
There is that great Neruda one. Is it Ode to Your Feet or something?
Yeah, he does a
Oh.
whole book of like all ode to the sea, ode to your feet, ode to your yeah.
There's a great line in that one. It's something like, but mostly I love your feet because they carried you to me.
Aww.
So sweet.
Cute.
Sweet.
Okay, well, let's get into it.
What did you make this week? What did you make this week? Tell us all about it. 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 Tell us all about it.
Yeah. I'm not totally sure about this, but I called it Ode to the Young Con. But con is for my youthful confidence.
Oh, we're like on track with what we're talking about, I feel like. All right. You ready?
I'm very nervous.
You do seem nervous.
I just don't know how it's gonna sound. Like it could
Oh.
start playing, and you're like, "Oh, this is just the worst." But I'm here, so I'm for it.
Yeah,
But terrified.
we're for it too.
Okay.
Well, we heard 2 seconds during the test of levels, and it sounded great.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Can we look at your lyrics?
Oh yes. Just to explain, these are handwritten with it's sloppily too. So this could
Your sloppy is better than my neat.
really.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
What you knew for sure. He set in stone forever. Her teeth running and her gums out, showing there was no persuading your young eyes to see. She is shine, glory and gold sparkling. Here lies her remaining rain among all confidence, my confidant who made me brave. She is on her knees. She's on her knees. Settled, confirmed, restoration. The heart for peace is justified. I live to ease its ooh. Her teeth smiling and her gums out, showing there was no persuading your young eyes to see. She is shine, glory and gold sparkling. Here lies a remaining rain among our confidence, my confidant. She made me brave. She's on her knees. She's on her knees. When you're wanting, needing, crying, surviving days and nights of all the hazy unknown. Ooh.
Absolutely lovely.
Wow, yeah, amazing.
So great.
It's so weird to listen so closely
It wasn't
to
good enough
writing
for you?
stuff with people. It's less horrible. It's still very uncomfortable for me in all settings.
What's uncomfortable about it?
Music still feels so personal, or the way I come about stuff. To lock yourself in a room and experiment, you come out a few hours later and you're like,
What did I do?
yeah, exactly. Like, so when you share it with someone, you're like, this could be bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I had fun, or it could be I had fun and it connects. But
But you felt connected with it when you made it.
yeah, I think that's what
comes through.
Okay, that I can connect with stuff, but I understand that not all songs or stories are meant for or land with everyone. So when I bring them to a group of people, I think I've already prepared myself for a certain percentage to go, all right. And some of that might be unhealthy because it's really protective and puts me on edge, but I keep sharing. So
It was definitely, you were saying you weren't thinking about the like exalting element of it. And I thought about this with my song too, like having the music behind it, like seems like it gives it that element of it where it's like, because the way it was arranged and the way you built the song and like made it grow and stuff like that, like, you really feel the like passion of the thing that you're talking about.
I hope so. Make up for that thing I didn't know to build in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you make it?
The writing, or like what I chose, all of it. Or, okay.
Yeah. Where did you start? Where did you go? Who are you?
What's
What's going on?
I started with the lyrics first. And it was just, again, I hadn't gone.
Were you
to
like,
the
I want
internet.
to write a song about this thing?
Not yet. Well, I was thinking just of like the odes I had read. So instead of just going in and looking up the definition of an ode and then weighing through options there, I was just thinking of how some are to seem like obviously exalting of the subject. Some also felt like a lament. So I think this one felt, I'm exalting my youthful confidence and saying how much of it was what gave me courage, for better or for worse, to make decisions, to make moves, to be who I was. But the lament is that that posture of, I'm like personifying my confidence as she is the queen and she's reigning and she's assured of these things. But now I'm older and I know that she's been humbled and brought low since then. So the exalting is that it honestly was what gave me a lot of courage, is some of the things I thought I knew absolutely helped me navigate this really odd world. I am, I guess, praising it for that, but also lamenting that it's not serving me.
That specific kind of confidence?
Yeah, that.
Because you have confidence.
Yes,
of
exactly.
other kinds
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
right?
The confidence that I just know, will always know why I'm here, why you're here. Like the absolutes that are tied to like origin, faith, spirituality, a lot of things that were provided a lot of confidence about what my place was, what yours was. Those things have been whittled and sanded down where I'm like, oh, okay, these things I know. These things I really don't know.
Right.
And having to redirect. So I look kindly upon my younger self. Like the young Khan was kind of jokingly played, like my confidence was played me, but I understand her. But I also just know now that those things aren't sure. And I have to like reposition myself now to the world and to others. And
It's interesting you say whittled down. To me, it sounds actually like a broadening, right?
Yeah.
It's like, because those are actually more, the things you describe are more narrow-minded things, and now you feel like you're
That's
more
true.
open-minded.
yeah,
But then it's like less certain.
exactly.
Which is like,
So what I feel like the certainty made me feel like a cool, I mean, not that I walked around like this, was very shy, I had my own issues, but that confidence was like a royal thing in me. At the very least, even if with all my circumstances or shit, I know these things. So it was narrower, but it was sure. And then maybe not whittled, but the sanding back and forth, and all of a sudden it's broadening it, and then it's exposing like, oh, I don't know. And I don't think you know. And I don't think
more you learn, you know that you don't know.
Exactly. Those things where I would hear growing up in school and be like, that's very true. And it's terrifying. And my bigger, older self is able to hold that without
You can be scared all the time.
Yeah, like when I was younger, I'm like, I don't think I had the capacity with everything else going on in the world to be that scared and still survive. But now, like, my frame can hold it and sit with it and cry with it and go, okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Brought low, but good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. What did you do with the words once you had them?
Just sat with initially my acoustic guitar and was just playing around with creating something that would match the story of the lyrics. So that's why usually lyrics come first, because they more often direct the music.
It does sound phrase driven that way. I really like that. It keeps it interesting and guides the listener through in that way.
Thank you.
And I say that coming from the other side of writing the music first and everything's 4 here and 4 here and 16, you know. I love that phrase driven melodies that carry you through into the next chord and into the next phrase.
Yeah, because things feel like they can become different, but it's still really intuitive, like the way the song moves. You know, it's like when you write something in a weird time signature, but you like everybody still like bobs their head to it. You know, you're like, I got it.
And that's a practice that is easiest for me when I'm collaborating with someone, is to start from the other side. So a couple years ago, I started collaborating with a friend, and he would produce the music and then send me those tracks and be like, I want you to write to it. And it was fun. It was uncomfortable at first because I'm used to having control over the whole project, but I wanted to know what could come out from a different starting point. But because of the time frame, I stuck with what was comfortable.
Yeah, sure. Just get it done.
Didn't challenge myself in that way. I was like, this is enough of a challenge. I'm just going to go with what.
So you had the song written just that you could sing the whole thing yourself. And then how did you record it?
I recorded in Logic, just did like a live take with vocals and guitar, and then took the vocals out because I just wanted to hear if I even liked the arrangement. Because that changed a couple times when I was playing. I'm like, this just feels like I'm losing the story, or this part's too long, or this part is abrupt. But within the time being, I finally narrowed it down to that, and then did vocals over it. And then the play part, well, that was all play, but the play where I had mentioned earlier, you guys giving me a deadline, all the background vocals and the oohs and really simple guitar plucking, I won't even call it a riff, that was fun. Just to
can call it
okay. I'll call it's a baby riff. Just be like, okay, I have this time, and I would just keep listening to it over and over. And it's very fun for me when I'm alone to play and to be like, what about? And then just add some vocals here or there, and be like, well, I kind of want this one to sound crunchy and distant and emote in this way. That is something that's harder for me when I'm songwriting and collaborating with other people, taking that risk in real time in front of them. Like the times I've done it where they're like, what do you think right here? And in my mind, I'm like, what about la la? But I'm not going to say that because my pride is like, what if that's dumb or stupid, or I don't know how to communicate
It's the worst.
what exactly I'm trying to achieve. But when you're alone, it's like, well, I want a swelling noise. I want it to sound like this or that. And I can just hunt and search and play until I get it. So that oohs and la-las and background vocals, that was just sitting there, standing there, walking around the room, coming back and trying it out and be like, I like that. Okay. And then let's do another one.
Yeah.
Just until I was tired and realized that I had eaten all day and was like, I'm gonna go.
We've tried to make this whole house a free idea zone where we're encouraged to do weird yodel experimenting or whatever we want to do. Ayal's on the top floor, so I hear some interesting sounds coming from there, and I'm in the basement. Last night I was doing some vocal tracks, and my partner was sleeping upstairs on the main floor, so I just sung as quietly as I could. So it's all of a sudden, it's a feature, not a bug. It's part of it. It's quiet singing.
It's really interesting with that stuff. I think it's also back to what we were talking about with ego and pride, like you're saying, like there's an element of it that's like trying this shit out. When you allow yourself to do that by yourself, that is actually like the entire depth of your personality. But then when you're like around other people, you like narrow your personality to kind of like, not be judged or whatever, that kind of thing.
Oh my gosh, is this turning too poppy? Is this and whereas if I'm with another person or a group, especially if I'm not sure of our dynamic,
right,
I'm worried that I might go too far in one direction. or I might lose their respect, or
Right.
they'll disregard me. So you start
The fucked up thing though is if they do lose respect for you for like who the person you are,
Exactly.
it's more genuine that they're doing that. But then you can just be like, oh, that person just like actually doesn't like the person that I actually am.
like you would actually have real ansers
Yeah.
to the whole
I
situation.
know. Can't we just do that all the time?
But I just really want everyone to like me. No, yeah. Well, it is. It's fair
Don't we
that
all?
I know that wasn't out loud. What was the truth corners
window.
truth window? I have to always address that part of me that is just desperately wanting to be liked by everyone. But I also know too much to know that everyone, especially with art or creating, I'm not going to be for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And if they feel like they're at tension, I don't know if there's ever a point where it becomes so clear that every choice is easy to make. But I want to create because I feel compelled to create. I want to grow. I want to get better at communicating in the way I've chosen to through songwriting. And I also want to be open to learning from other people. Like I don't want to be like live in self-delusionment of just, it's great, it's always great. I'm like, well, I don't think I'm always great, but I do think that there are people for me,
Right.
who I can speak to, and
And it's actually the things that are different, the things that you're most scared of, those are always the thing, like that's the things that I love the most in other people, are the things that sets them apart from other people. If you're just doing the same thing
Yeah.
everybody else is doing, those aren't the things that are interesting to me.
I know it's so hard to let yourself just be that,
Yeah.
because you already know that just being it is going to eliminate a chunk of people, and my worry is always like that chunk of people. I'm like, I know there's like the ones that are just not my people, but what about those ones that could have been, and I just was, you know what I mean? Those could have been. It's like, well, you can't control other
They'll realize
people.
once the other people realize.
Group think. Just got to persuade one person.
Well, thanks for sharing.
Thanks for
Really
listening.
beautiful. Thanks for being our
thank you.
first guest.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Thank you for writing a beautiful song and
Yeah.
being our guest. This is so great.
wonderful
My
ode.
pleasure. Thanks for letting me close my eyes while I played mine.
Oh, yeah. I was closing my eyes. All right, who's next?
Who should it be? Who did last week?
First? You did, right?
I think so.
Okay, I'll go.
All right.
This song, I just couldn't figure out what I wanted to write an ode about, because it was either figure out something that is like worthy of exaltation. I just put too much weight on the thing, you know, or it's like,
Did you wander around all week going, what should I appreciate? Is this
Yes.
this worthy? Because I did
Yes.
that too.
Totally. And then I went the opposite extreme, like, yeah, what if I do something just, you know, jokey or whatever? But that didn't feel that right. So at some point I was just like, consciousness is like all we got, really. So I was like, I guess that's like the biggest thing I could write something about. So I mean, it's similar to your song where it's like kind of just describing it, but the music is, I feel like, what exalts it. So here it is. An ode to the nature of consciousness.
It's a thing that you have in the hole every time. It's a thing you forgot every time you go around. It's the thing when you focus becomes not a thing anymore. It's the light that you see in the crack of the door. It's the reason for your shape of mind. The thing that when you look, you can't find. Thing and thought combined.
Nice chord density.
Thanks.
Fourth episode in, getting the jazz chords out.
Yeah.
I
Well,
love those tone clusters.
I didn't even, it was like so unintentional, a lot of that stuff. We talked about how sometimes I think of recording stuff as just as kind of like painting, and this one was just, I was just like sticking like globs of paint on the thing and then like coming in with like a palette knife and like scraping stuff off where it didn't belong, you know, like through panning or just like automating stuff in and out. That kind of recording like allowed me to like really smear things. There's that piano part that here, I'll actually have a clip of it. It's not really like in time. I just was like, I want kind of this type of sound to happen, put an arpeggiator on the keyboard that I was working on, and just kind of like you know when you're listening to classical music and you just like can't really tell what's going on, but it like sounds impressive.
Yeah.
That's very honest. I love that.
That's what I was going for. So there's this sound.
So that's an arpeggiator. You're just holding down keys.
Just holding
and
down chords, shifting
it's
around it.
making it cycle through
Exactly.
it in rhythm.
Yeah, and it's that kind of like the imprecision or something was just, it didn't matter because I was just like interested in kind of getting texture in the whole thing. And that's how the chords that I was playing, like I'm sure there's tons of places where I just like wasn't doing exactly what I intended to do with the sounds, but I just kept like layering strings and winds and stuff and just like, I hope this works.
Complex patchwork of different rhythms intermingling and syncopating.
It's also what's so awesome about like writing on a computer is you can just do that and then go in later and like pan stuff to a different way, and all of a sudden like it makes sense in a different way, or like just take it out of this one section or introduce it just for this tiny little bit or something like that.
Can't do that on the Go Boy. Is that what it was called?
The Talk Boy.
Talk Boy.
I wasn't sure. I'm like, wow, what's a Go Boy?
Oh, you haven't heard of a Go Boy?
Go Boy.
Talk Boy. I don't know where Go came from. I was thinking you're on the go with a tape player.
Oh, yeah.
Now I'm finding more then.
Talk Boy.
Yeah, our new product that we're going to sell.
Can we have a segment called Talk Boy?
Part of my motivation with the tones too that are, I'm starting to play with a project that was dormant for a while, and I have a keyboard that I am just kind of learning how to use. So I was trying to figure out patches to use for that band, and I was like, well, I have these patches that I've been working on, so I'm just gonna like write a song with those. I feel like that's a lot of how my recording works, is it's like sometimes it's just like the newest thing that you got is you're excited about using it, and so you just put that on the thing that you're making, you know. So yeah, so that was part of my motivation. And yeah, just like I remember I recorded, because I have a little bit of, like we've talked in the past how one way we write often is to like have a chord progression going on and then just singing nonsense over the top of it, you know? But I don't know if we've quite given an example of the kind of nonsense that can happen.
You guys have this recorded? Did this nonsense
I
practice?
I saved a little bit of the nonsense from this song. So we'll see how this goes. Truth Window. Here's some. I don't even know what this is going to sound like.
It's very brave.
Give it up, give it up. Like I don't even know what pitches to sing.
I commend you. This is like one of my, not yours, but sharing like voice memos or ideas, and someone's like, send it my way. I'm like, no.
Truth Window.
Truth Window.
That was great. I love that you saved that.
Yeah. Do you write that way? Just like singing nonsense like that?
Sometimes I do. Well, sometimes
I guess you have
I'm
words
writing,
a lot though.
Yeah, words, but I will, if depending on what I have, I might like just start singing into my phone. But those are the cringiest for me to go back to, and especially if I stumble upon them in the midst of going through all the recordings, and then someone else hears it, and you're like, I can't explain. There's a reason for this, I promise. But
Like, who is this
I know.
person? And it's interesting. Voice is such a weird thing because it's so tied in with identity too. I feel like it really took me a long time to get comfortable with, even just to learn how to sing like on pitch or something like that. You just have to sing really badly for a long time.
like the playing with it, like being able to,
Yeah.
and I mean play in like a really intentional way, not just
Right.
outdoors childhood. Well, actually, that's probably really special too, but learning how to approach even like studio time with other people where they're obviously going to be hearing you because you're in their studio.
Yeah.
And someone suggests something or you have an idea like, why don't you try this? And you're not really sure how it's going to turn out because you didn't bring it in, it wasn't your demo. And you try it and you listen back to it and it's silly sometimes and it sounds uncomfortable. Like,
You're like, can you put a lot of reverb on
yeah,
that?
can you just make that incredibly...
Just drown it.
And learning how to like laugh with myself because like you're just, there's nothing, I haven't like any skill set or thing that I've grown into has not come about without me just playing with it.
Yeah.
I just usually like to hide all the play ahead of time till it's presentable.
Right.
But
I mean, that's part of what we're doing with this, right? Is it's like,
pulling back the curtain.
we all have to do this part too, right? You can't just be the person that's perfectly like presented in front of society and just like exactly the way social media and stuff now works. Everything gets totally magnified in that direction of you get to curate your image in a certain way. And that's just not the reality of humans.
Yeah. Or the truth, like you mentioned about getting a new piece of gear and someone's digging in, like, so why did you go this direction with this song? You're like, well, I had this pedal and it was really shiny and I thought, nah. Like there was no story. Like sometimes the story is I was just
Seemed
goofing
fun.
around, it seemed fun. And then it became serious fun. But
I could almost date the months at Honest Jams by which like percussion pieces I'm really into that month or two.
Totally.
Right now it's
showing
triangle.
your trend.
Yeah, triangle and this one crappy weird cymbal, this tiny little trash cymbal that are just on everything right now.
Yes.
All right. I think that's all I got.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we do yours?
Okay, so for my ode, I came up with the music and then added the lyrics over it last night. And I knew my friend Pony was willing to come over and play some bass. So he's just like the house band for my Honest Jams at this point.
Pony bass.
Yeah, he happened to be free. And my plan was to have him come over and then, write something for us to play kind of on the spot. But he likes to get an idea ahead of time. So I've been listening to David Axelrod this week, the Song of Innocence album in particular. And I wanted to make something kind of like that, instrumentation-wise. So I sent him the track from that, and I hummed into my voice memo a little melody that ended up being the music for it, which I have for you to play. I wanted to get it down right that second, and it was before I had fed the cat, so there's that.
Oogie. All right.
Oogie appearance.
Dun 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 dun.
Oogie.
She's right on the beat.
So that's what you sent to Pony?
That's what I sent to Pony.
Okay.
And then we put it together that night with some drums and bass and keys. It's called Ode to Cultivator, which is a strange but utopian imagining of a mechanical, robotic, artificial intelligence, overall just machine that takes care of humanity. So it is a utopian view of somehow humans creating a machine that will help us realize what's in our best interest. And it runs on plants, but it's also kind of magical. So there's a spiritual, exalted sort of religious vibe to it. So this is the machine that I imagine future humans kind of praying to.
Yeah. So psychedelic.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of that 60s psych.
Uh-huh.
You know, I could hear string arrangements on it too
Oh,
or
yeah.
something. There's only so many hours in a week that
Totally.
you have to work on your pet project.
Will you win the dictionary award this week?
Oh,
That's
do
for
I?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is a runnel?
Oh my gosh, I'm glad you're asking. A runnel and a branchlet.
Branchlets are just like tiny little branches, little baby branches.
gosh.
And runnel is like like little rivers that split off.
Oh, that's a fun word. I like that. So, how did you make it?
That David Axelrod album I mentioned has so much cymbal. It's just like ride cymbal. Like there's, the snare's barely in there. Yeah, from a normal standpoint, the drum mix is very wacky, but I wanted it to be a really cymbally, pingy
Yeah.
thing. And then all the ooh vocals went on before the lyrics did. So those, I think, divined the mood of it to be about something kind of mystical, like futuristic, like plant magic.
I felt like that. I saw people walking in robes, just like a slow pace towards, I don't know, the cultivator.
Oh,
So
yeah.
like that when you had
Yeah.
communicated, you wanted it to feel like this would be who we would worship in the future. I'm like, I definitely felt like this was the lead up.
You're in.
I'm like, I guess.
I'd live there. I'd live in that future.
Yeah, let's trance out to the cultivator. So you had guitar, that guitar
Electric
line.
tenor?
You wrote the song on tenor?
No, I just wrote the melody and then found what bass notes were appropriate underneath it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then I
don't think I've
formed
ever written a song
formed
that
the
way.
chords with the vocals after the bass was already put on.
Right. Yeah, because the tenor is only just like a lead line.
Yeah,
happening
the tenor
here and
was
there.
put on last.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, before the spoken. Oh, another thing is I have been using this songwriting challenge every week to try to do different types of vocals. So this week it was like high vibrato-y, I don't know, spaghetti western-y vocals, which I haven't done too much of with vibrato. Usually I just sing very straight, clear tones. And I think sometimes my voice is like the invisible voice. It's just smooth and it just fits in there. It doesn't have like, I like singing like right after I get over a cold because I feel like there's a little rasp on there and it's got some character and personality.
You got plenty of personality.
Sure. Well, I can write a song every week. We know that much.
At least so far.
Yeah. And then the spoken thing, that's pretty new to me.
Yeah.
Just kind of picturing like Lou Reed or somebody, just speaking some lyrics.
Yeah, under this kind of like trancey groove.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was late last night. And the limitation of trying to be quiet and not wake up people sleeping in the house was part of what made me decide to do low spoken, whispery kind of vocals. So that was new.
Cool.
I'm realizing now, since we're talking about the element of odes that can be difficult, being the sincerity, the sincere appreciation. And I think maybe going to the sci-fi speculative place was a way for me to genuinely imagine something that I sincerely would appreciate rather than picking like a person I know or like a
Ode to
thing.
Hank.
Yeah, just like, because that's, I don't know, that feels a little more vulnerable and I wouldn't know what to say or how it would come across, and
Right.
it might sound too, because with odes you can none of the songs today did at all.
Yeah, we were
But
all pretty conceptual.
Yeah, but I imagine that it's easier to come across as sappy if you are just writing appreciative lyrics of something or someone,
If you wrote an ode to Oogie.
I thought about it. I did think about it. So maybe that was my way. I'm just psychoanalyzing after the fact here. Maybe
Yeah.
that was my way of easily reaching sincerity lyrically,
Yeah.
was to imagine a beautiful but strange utopian future.
Yeah. So
I noticed in the both of yours, the elevating nature is just pointing out characteristics that can become just ordinary, or we overlook them because it's just everywhere. Like I think I read an ode it's about an orange, but just the elevating nature of it was purely just to spend that much time poking at something.
Yeah.
So it wasn't all glory, glory to the orange kind of thing, as much as it was just.
I want to hear that song.
I know.
Yeah.
Glory, glory to the
Glory,
orange.
glory to the orange. Orange is our signature color here at Honest Jams.
Ooh, in your little thumbnail
With the
name.
carpet and the
Oh
couch.
yeah.
And also with these Honest Jams pens, which we would like to give you for completing
you.
the Honest Jams challenge.
For making it through. Thank you. I will use this today. I saw both of you doing that, and I think that's what is attractive to me about odes.
Yeah.
At least in the ones I've read, is that it'll take something, not that consciousness is, or the cultivator are ordinary,
Right.
but they're,
But you're plainly describing them, kind of.
Yeah.
You're like, this
Where
is
you
just
sit with this,
the
you're like,
characteristics
"Oh."
of what this thing is.
right. Because there's just so much that any one person is taking in every day in their conversations, what they're hearing, what they're watching, what they're consuming, that there's just no way to be able to experience each of these characteristics so well.
Mm-hmm.
And then when someone breaks it down, and then just line by line, you're hearing clear descriptors poetically. There's a lot of like, oh, right. Yeah. Which is, and it feels silly because you're like, of course, these things are connected to this subject or this idea, but I haven't sat with it. And it's, yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that felt like the exalting part of it was just
Right, because
giving it time.
it's like you're contemplate. In order to come up with that, you have to contemplate it and be like,
from
what
all
is this thing?
sides and yeah, all approaches. So
What is the cultivator?
yeah.
The cultivator is everything.
The cultivator is life.
You're like, actually, this is not Honest Gems. We
Yeah.
are here to persuade you to join
Yeah.
our cultivator.
Yeah, do you want to go see our cultivator? Whew. Well, we did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We really did. We have one more gift too.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a notebook to go with the pen.
Oh, I love this.
Although it's not constructed to be very durable. I've noticed from using my own. I bought a bulk box of them. But that level of chintziness in the construction means that you can feel good writing not only good ideas, but also questionable ideas. Just fill it up. It's going to fall apart
Perfect.
like all of the fabric of reality for all of us eventually.
I love the permission given. Like, just use it. Use it
Make
well.
something bad.
Make something really bad in this notebook. Thank you. I also am like, love office supplies. So when someone's like, here's a notepad and some Post-its and a pen. Best gift ever. I will utilize these. Thank you.
Well,
It's come to that time
It's
where we
come to
need
that
to
time.
choose the theme for our guest
Yeah.
next week and for the challenge next week.
yeah. I was going to put the responsibility on you.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know this was part of it.
I know, we didn't
if
tell you.
anything comes to mind, I can tell you the topics we've had before
Yes,
are
yes. Tell me.
They've
Begin-
been varied.
beginnings. Then we had finger snaps. That was
Wow.
my week. Then we had
Yes.
lullaby. And then ode was our fourth one.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be like a musical
Yeah, it can
thing.
be
It
anything.
can be anything that could
Really.
inspire the
Really?
lyrics, or
Yeah.
it could be an
and
instrument.
if the pressure is too much,
No,
Yeah,
well,
just in case any ideas.
I have something that came to mind,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna preface this with I don't know if it's it's not the best. It's just the first thing that came to mind.
let's hear it.
Can you veto it if you're like that's weird?
Yeah.
Hair. That's all I thought. I
Oh,
couldn't-
that's perfect.
okay.
That's great.
Hair is
Hair.
perfect.
Hair.
Amazing.
Hair.
That's something we never would have thought of.
Yeah, and what a long storied history in rock and roll.
Oh,
that
yeah.
hair has.
Is that what you're going to write about? The long
Well, that's-
storied history of
Well,
rock and roll hair?
no, I was just thinking more of the what did the internet say?
Oh,
segment,
yeah.
where I'm gonna
Oh
hair.
my gosh.
type into Google hair.
Too bad it's not a visual medium. Ooh, hair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
or
you're
we'll see-
welcome.
we'll
I was
see.
like, I don't know. This
Well,
might be like the end
next,
of it.
I know that our next guest got an amazing haircut recently, so
Whoa.
I think she's going to be quite inspired.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Isabeau,
Yes.
what are you doing in the world now? What do you want to tell people about? Because you're making a record, right?
Okay, check. Okay, I was like, what to tell them? I'm like, there's so many things I want to tell you.
I mean,
that
yeah, tell them all the
you guys
things.
are doing well. Keep waking up every morning. Pep talks.
Make something bad.
Make something bad this week and be okay with it. As far as
You.
me and this music that I'm trying to create, I have been releasing things for years on YouTube and SoundCloud and Bandcamp. And upon announcing my retirement from teaching, I also made a commitment to put myself in a studio and commit to some songs in a longer, more involved way.
Yeah.
And so I recorded with Ryan Oxford with Color Therapy Studios.
The best.
And I know, I love Ryan. And it's out at the end of April on streaming platforms. And then I have a release show at the Alberta Street Pub on May 9th.
Nice.
With some friends playing music with me and just, yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah.
That was such a barrier for me to put myself in the studio with people. I've had some odd experiences and really wanted to see if I could do this all on my own. So to commit the time and the money and the resources and just the energy and courage to do that with someone else and then communicate it to all the people who I've been telling I was going to do it, like to actually follow through with this has been really good.
Hell yeah.
And challenging.
It's amazing.
So I'm proud of myself.
Yeah, looking forward
even
to
if it's like
hearing
the
it.
worst. Just kidding. I won't say, but even if
No.
it was, I would just be so proud that I went with it.
Yeah.
And I'm trying
Yeah.
out loud.
Because
Trying out
then
loud.
you can just do it again.
Yeah. And oh my gosh. Sorry, that's a whole other tangent. But like how to do projects like this and not freak out. I mean, and give it as much time as you can, but then know like this is not the last thing you're going to
Right.
create. That's okay if that part doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You'll do it again. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's coming out soon. I hope people
Cool.
will, that'll be worthwhile for people. The
Yeah.
way it is for me.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. Anything else that you're doing out there in the world that you want to talk about?
I'm in the Portland area, been playing out live more with my solo project and then traveling with my friends in Isla Bamba here
Yeah.
and there. So if you are in any of the cities where Isla Bamba is playing, go see them.
Sing
Like they're
and
out right now and I
shake.
joined them at the end of February. So yeah, come dance with us.
Yeah.
And with my solo stuff, come out and you can dance if you want. It's a little harder to dance to my stuff, but I welcome it and I would just love to be able to sing to people in a live setting and have
Yeah.
that conversation then.
May 9th.
May 9th.
Alberta Street Pub.
Yep.
Cool. Well,
Cool.
thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Oh, and for people listening out there in the world, if you want to write songs along with us, you can share those songs on our Facebook group or email us at honestjamspodcast@gmail.com. Email us your songs, email us your facts about the week's topic, or just email us whatever you want to tell us.
That'll do it for episode 4 of Honest Jams. Everyone remember,
We can bang on pots and pans.
And still kick out some honest jams.
Honest Jams podcast is written, recorded, and produced by Eyal Alvis and A. Walker Spring, and edited by me. Special thanks to Victor Nash for mixing our theme. Special thanks to Oogie. And thank you for listening. I can't wait to hear what you make.